Well, super. Well, we'll turn the time over to Tammy and her hubby, Terry, and the Law of the Harvest.
Yep. So, I didn't bring my normal Moms for America book and then my other book by, that's the Constitution book, but that all pulls in because those books use this book as their manual. And so the Law of the Harvest actually is going to be two principles, principle number 7 and then principle number 27. Oh, he's got a call. And so I have a lot of these books at my house. If anyone would like to purchase one for $15, I can bring them. If you, I was going to bring some today for like Christmas presents and stuff, but if you don't have it. So the Law of the Harvest, but if any provide not for his own, and specifically for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. That's pretty plain, and we believe in self-reliance. The founders believed in self-reliance, and I want you to look at the liberty hat. So if you start looking at a lot of flags from the very beginning of the 13 colonies or coins, and over and even in France, the cartoons had a liberty hat on, or they would put it on a pole with a liberty hat that moved like that. So there's a liberty hat right there, and look, she's holding food storage. So you know, we in this group have talked a lot about being prepared and having self-reliance. Okay, so Corinthians 9:6. Now this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully.
You know what's interesting? I know someone who's been a former bishop, and he's like, oh, this food storage stuff to me just seems silly.
Oh,
and I'm like,
wow. This is what we forgot.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I can share with you. But I don't know. I just, I don't know how they're missing the mark here. So
during the downturn when Obama became president, we ate through all of our food storage. Now that was a long 8 years. So I was so happy. And then when we moved, we bought the $10 trees at Costco, and we couldn't afford to put in our lawn yet. And so I just bought the Home Depot buckets and drilled a hole in the bottom, and then put a Home Depot bucket by each of my fruit trees and just filled it with water, and then just watered it. Because it takes 5 years usually for fruit to grow. So I was like, until I can, because we got ripped off by our Parade of Homes builder during that, because we closed in December 27 and 28. Anyway, all right, so he's like, don't talk about that. But my fruit trees grew.
She just has a different memory than I do.
Anyway, that's what I did. I know, because I'm the one that landscaped with my son. My son got his merit badge in landscaping, helping me do that.
Oh, wow.
So we used it as a learning opportunity. Okay, so principle 7, protect rights, not provide equal things, and which is the proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. And so we are going tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about principle 25, and it's going to be on families, and that if you go to familiesforliberty.net, that's the Zoom link. And eventually we'll have all of them up there.
Do you want interaction, or do you want?
We're pretty late. Very few interactions.
Okay, because this jumps out at me.
Yeah.
Right now, our young people are so caught up in the socialism because they think they should have equal things.
Yes, so that's why the Law of the Harvest should be about self-reliance. I know you need to block off something. It keeps calling. So the Law of the Harvest is really about this, that we've got to teach our kids to not, say the government's going to take care of me. And then the principle number 27, which we will also go into, is about debt. And the burden of debt is really a national security risk. And so, are you? Can we go? Okay. So, can you go back?
Sorry. That's
Okay.
There's some youth traveling to a YSA conference, and they're
that's
having
why.
problems with their flights and stuff, and so
Oh,
they're trying to
so
help them. I
my
think that's
husband's-
why she's.
So he's trying. So our script is on this computer, but WhatsApp keeps calling. So he's over the Elder Soares is going to this Caribbean youth conference, and they're all flying all the youth from the Caribbean to Jamaica? No,
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. No, because the last time it was Jamaica. So
The DR?
So
Serious? Ooh,
yeah,
that's a
they're
scary
doing
place.
DR is a little safer than Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're going to the DR.
So who's
Okay, can you get back?
Who's
I don't remember
flying
what that is.
The church.
Yeah.
Elder Suarez is
Yeah,
taking them.
and the Caribbean area. Okay, so
Okay, so on Thursday nights, we've been teaching together these principles of liberty that are found in Leon Skousen's book, The 5,000 Year Leap. And really, it helps us to give context around just what a miracle the Constitution has been.
Yeah.
Not just for the United States of America, but for the entire world. It's a beacon of liberty for the world. And we've really enjoyed it, right? It's been, for us,
We've
probably,
learned so much.
We've learned the most, obviously, out of anyone. But we really appreciated the support we've had from people attending, and I think we've had really good dialogue around it each week. So
we
that's
had
been
one
nice.
husband that came. You know, she was conservative. Her husband is just in business, always around liberal people from California, and now he's a staunch conservative.
Well, yeah, he's really
And now he knows
really
how to
changed
talk.
his perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what the Constitution does, because it's based in principles of truth. And when you start to understand those principles, then you start to really change your perspective on all kinds of issues, including the role of government, economics, and freedom and liberty, those kinds of things. So the founders understood these principles, and it really has brought about more progress in human civilization than anything that's happened in the last 5,000 years. And it really is this leap forward for humanity. And it's inspired by the Savior of this world. These are his principles. He is the great liberator, and he wants us to have the opportunity to exercise agency and to learn from that blessing, which is the blessing of agency. So we're thankful for this, what we call this title of liberty is what it is. The Constitution is the title of liberty for America, and it protects life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it also protects families. So it's a beautiful thing.
So we like to say the principles at least 3 times, so it gets in your heart and so it gets in your mind. And I need to be able to know what I'm supposed to say. So we're again trying to talk about protecting rights and not providing equal things. And good government will protect. That's what they're supposed to do. The 20 enumerated powers, right? And not provide. But you can see we've been down that difficult road, and especially since the government shut down, we can see all the craziness and that has happened.
So if you look at that, this one says life, liberty, and property.
Yeah.
That's what they originally
Yes.
wrote, but because slaves were still considered property, they changed it to life, liberty, and the pursuit of
yeah, because
happiness.
they were trying. Well, and he had written property because he had written slavery out. Thomas Jefferson had
Yes.
written slavery out,
Yes.
but they did. The southern states were still even at that time,
Yeah.
and so they put in the provision 20 years they'd get rid of it. And actually Thomas Jefferson was the president of the United States during the end of that 20 years. So he actually, a couple years before, there were pirates that were kidnapping and bringing them over. And we didn't start slavery. It was
No.
the king imposed upon us, right? And so he was already helping Congress make a law to stop the ships, the pirate ships, from bringing him in so that we could stop at 20 years. But boy, did it not work.
No.
So,
It
so
didn't.
sad. So as we look at this inspiring image, invoking life, liberty, and property, like Colette said, against a background of stars and stripes, it captures really the heart of liberty principle number 7, emphasizing good government will protect, not provide. That's the flame, eternal flame of liberty. So reflecting on Doctrine and Covenants, you have to click on, they keep WhatsApping him. I hope they get there on their flight.
They're stranded. So
They're stranded. If you need to go too,
Oh.
I can talk.
Yeah, maybe I'll just take a minute because
We don't want the young single adults stranded on
Yeah.
flights. And they're all trying to get there for, today's Wednesday? Yeah, it starts tomorrow, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like they do that. I know Al and Julian Jackson, being the state president of the young single adults, they do a big thing in DC. And now that the Kennedy Center is so beautiful, they do a big thing there. Okay, so hopefully we can rescue the The youth. Okay, so the young single adults. He does the YSAs, the younger ones, I mean, too. Okay, so if we go to D&C 134, verse 2, it says, we believe that no government can exist in peace except such laws are framed and held inviolate, as will secure to each individual the free exercise of conscience. So I didn't understand that freedom of conscience, that's when we talked about the Templars, when Bernard Clairvaux started his Cistercian, that means where the water is. So they were secretly plotting against, in 1054, the Catholics took away marriage. So they're like, how do we still be Catholic but still figure this out? And so they would meet in the cisterns, and they wanted freedom of conscience to be able to still, they were going to try to, from the bottom, kind of infiltrate. And they did. So when the Templars got in, their pope was a Cistercian pope that helped. So anyway, okay. So, freedom of conscience, the right and the control of property, and the protection of life. And this principle reminds us that true governance safeguards our God-given rights without overstepping into provision. In today's landscape, with recent policy shifts like the One Big Beautiful Bill, aiming to reduce dependency through work-focused welfare reforms, we didn't know that was in there. So that was actually in the One Big Beautiful Bill, was that you have to work. If you are a single person, you have to work. If you don't have a severe disability, you have to work to provide. And
I think that's good.
It's actually like only 20 hours a week or something. It's not even working very much.
It's a part-time job.
Yeah, but you see these TikTok people saying, I'm not going to work. And you're supposed to provide for my children. You know?
I'm trying to think, is it New York? They want to propose giving $500 a month, just a stipend?
Yeah. Well, they did that in LA already, and they've done it to all the illegals. She's like, they're afraid to go out in the street. And we hire an American lawn company now, and it's always been Mexicans that's done our lawn, right? But it was an American company, and now there's no Mexicans doing my lawn. There's two not Mexicans. And I'm like, oh, well, did they self-deport?
Some Hispanics?
Yeah. So, so if you look at, Kristi Noem has put up a thing that if you self-deport, you're on a fast track to come back to America. They give you a free flight and $1,000. In Sweden, it's a really bad problem right now.
All of Europe.
And so they're giving a lot of money for them to leave the country, since they allowed them to come in. Okay, so anyway, the Big Beautiful Bill, it actually has this work-focused welfare reform, and how protecting rights fosters self-reliance instead of this enforced equality. So whenever you hear equality, that's a buzzword for, like they say, democracy. It's not really, you're being forced. It's taking away liberty. So this approach counters the pitfalls of redistribution. That was Obama's big word, redistribution. And as a former high school teacher, he wanted to make it so when I was a teacher, I could just apply for the job near my school where I lived, but under redistribution, because schools are government, the best teachers would be forced to teach somewhere else, right? Where the government decided you teach. So it literally takes away your freedom. This redistribution is not just money. It's people.
It's all kinds of things.
It's all kinds of things. Yeah, services. So allowing individuals to pursue prosperity on their own terms, much like how historical government overreach has led to many nations falling. And so this helps ensure our society remains vibrant and free. So this nation was founded on the principles of self-governance and self-reliance. So the government's proper role is to secure our God-given rights. So that's when we're with our children and grandchildren, we always should be saying we get our rights from God, not government. The Declaration of Independence evokes God 4 times. So that's how we're going to do it. And from demands, freedom demands responsibility. General Flynn always talks about that. All of us have taken an oath being a citizen, and he always says local action equals national impact. So we have personal responsibility, and even our prophets have said that if you want to remain free, we have personal responsibility to learn about this. So I love always when Jolene teaches, she says we have to learn the gospel of Jesus Christ at the same time as the gospel of liberty. And Terry alluded to that Jesus Christ is our great liberator. So in order for us to have freedom of choice to practice our religion, that's why they came over here, and we need to be supporting liberty in any way that we can, and studying liberty so that we have ready answers when we need to. So we reject, and you'll know this buzzword from Obama, we reject cradle to grave entitlement, and which erodes both character and freedom. When I went to Obama's, when I was being awakened for Common Core, and to his, whitehouse.gov, you could see the evil plan and how they brought in money. I do want to play, at the very end, I want to play Defending the Republic. If you don't follow her. She's a ex-military leader. And this morning, she talked about how Soros is the reason why other countries can kick him out and we can't, is because he is being paid by the CIA. So that's why General Flynn is saying Ratcliffe needs to go and the CIA needs to go. That we cannot do this any longer.
So is John Ratcliffe part of the deep
I don't
state?
know, but General Flynn I really do trust, but he keeps calling out Ratcliffe. But I do believe that those 6 seditious leaders, one of them was a CIA director, and the guy that shot in DC, he was a CIA operative. Asset. But she goes through the history, so that's why I want you to listen to it. She goes through the history of starting in the year 2000 of the color revolutions, and it's really interesting. So hopefully we'll get enough through this that we can talk about that. And
is this something you can send me and I can just send it out to the group?
I was going to hook my phone to it. It's
okay.
A little short.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you can do that. I'm still learning, you guys. I'm still learning
technology.
Yeah, learning technology. Okay, so again, we repeat, the proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. So true self-government rests on protected God-given rights and personal responsibility. I know our church has, especially for the youth, I know my kids have gone through it as young single adults, and my husband working with young single adults. They have a self-reliance course. Do you guys know that? You guys can even take it as adults. Yeah. Your ward can have a self-reliance course, which I was like, oh good, because that generation needs a self-reliance course because they've been indoctrinated in college, even if you've done a good job in your school, in your home. Mm-hmm. So steer your college-age kids to the self-reliance course, and it's just an institute class. Yeah, or grandkids, yeah. Okay, so no free society can survive when its citizens expect the state to do what God and hard work are meant to do. So this principle highlights how limiting government to protection-only powers, empowers citizens to thrive independently. And so we can analyze the recent tax relief measures, eliminating burdens on overtime and tips, and it becomes clear that such policies align with fostering individual opportunity, preventing the dependency cycles that erode individual initiative or self-reliance on societal strength. Some, they just made it illegal to get in New York to keep their tips.
Because Trump's not going to tax tips now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So now you can't have tips.
So their state law is trying to override the one big beautiful bill, and
that's tricky because the 10th Amendment gives us.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They're figuring it out.
Oh
they're figuring out how to destroy it.
Well, so they're just saying you don't need to pay a tip.
No, you have to pay your taxes still on it.
You still have to pay a tip. Oh, they're trying.
Taxes.
They're trying to get taxes.
Yeah, so Trump starting January 1st, you don't have taxes on tips, you don't have taxes on overtime, and they just reversed it in their state law. So those people should be mad. But if you're not educated, they might think, well, Trump didn't really come through his promise. It wasn't in the bill, right? Okay. All right, so here we go again. The principle, again, third time, remember I tell you, third time, so it gets in your heart and your mind. The proper role of government is to protect. You can tell I was a teacher. You have to repeat. Even for adults. The proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. So the focus is protecting life, liberty, and property, not redistribute goods. So this principle emphasizes that the government's purpose is to safeguard rights that every person is born with, not to equalize material possessions. Equality of opportunity, not outcome, is the foundation of liberty. And FDR changed all that and got it all mixed up, and we're trying to correct all of that. So Ronald Reagan wisely observed, government's first duty is to protect people and not to run their lives. This is especially relevant in 2025 pushes for these welfare reforms that prioritize work over handouts. And so the compounding effect to protecting rights lies in enabling personal growth, similar to how free markets have historically driven innovation rather than state-mandated equality. This ties to individual agency to national prosperity. So if we're tied to the government, we're not going to have liberty, right? So literally individual agency. I think that's why God even gave Adam and Eve. I had my one son, my third son, this week for Thanksgiving, and he's like, we gave him an opportunity to choose this or choose that, and he chose that, and he's like, you forced me, and I'm like, no, we've always give choices. I learned, I read a book about, I had a spirited child. And it's Dr. Sears' books, and for discipline, and spirited children are children that need to feel like they've made the choice, right? And so my oldest son, I could say, go brush your teeth, get on your jammies, right away. That child, I'd say, go get on your jammies. There's no way, any direct. So we call that spirited children. But later on, when they're teenagers, they can say no easier than the compliant child. So it kind of flips a little later. So as I read my book and took a little course at a parenting class, it said you have to always give a choice. So would you want to go brush your teeth first or put on your jammies first? And then he doesn't feel like I'm telling him to do it. So that actually, I had a grandma I sat next to in Richmond, and I had 4 boys at the time, and she had 8 boys. And so I'm like, how do you raise boys? What's your tip? And she's like, remember what worked for discipline when they're 2 years old to 3 years old. That's when they get they're stubborn. Oh gosh. Terry, yeah, this is area 770. Good, he got it.
So with my 5 boys, I remember Jim Jones, he used to teach amazing parenting classes. And it was nice to say, you're in charge of you, give them empowerment, and it's your responsibility. Are you able to respond? Responsibility. And then I say, well, and give them the choice. Yeah. Nevertheless, if you can do 4 jobs or whatever, and keep Saturdays open, or you can do them all on Saturday. And then if they didn't do it, I just, nevertheless, this is what it was.
Here's your consequence because you chose.
Empower them.
So this lady, she just said whatever worked for that child. And when this certain child was a teenager, and he would never take out the trash for me, and it would be talk back. And suddenly I'm remembering that lady, and I was like, she told me to make, what did I have to do? I'm like, give him a choice. So, and you have to make the really bad choice so they choose the right choice. Right? So I'm like, do you want to go play dolls with Lena? Or would you like to go take out the trash? He's like, I'll do the trash. I'm like, it worked. Because these battles, because anyway, so I just think it's interesting. We have to give people choice. Okay, so individual agency. So this is very interesting. I wanted to be able to put this because I was supposed to teach the week of Helena, but I guess she couldn't come this week, so we got switched. Yeah, so it would have been about the story of Thanksgiving and how the Pilgrims were forced into socialism and how they brought about starvation. So this is just
a good time for us to look back at the beginning of Thanksgiving. What brought the Pilgrims to America? What was the first Thanksgiving like? And interestingly, given all the attention that socialism has been getting recently, what happened when the Pilgrims experimented with socialism? And what lessons can Americans learn today from the Pilgrims. Well, here to walk us through the history of the American Thanksgiving holiday is Dr. Paul Jaley, the Executive Director of the Plymouth Rock Foundation. Dr. Jaley, welcome back to Washington Watch. It's great to have you.
Good to be with you here on this on the eve of this Thanksgiving.
On the eve of this wonderful holiday, and I'm so glad to have you with us to talk through some of this. So let's start through some basic questions, like what led the Pilgrims to leave their homes and set out for America in the first place? What was life like for them when they were in England, and what made it appealing for them to come to America?
Well, when William Bradford wrote his history of the Pilgrim story, and he started that history about 10 years after they landed, he let them know that one of the first things that happened, we have to realize that around 1550, 1560, a revival had been breaking out in England, and it was dubbed the Revival of Hearth and Home. That meant that when many families were beginning to walk with God, they were getting converted, and preachers were going home to home in every hamlet around England. And this is where, for instance, many of the Pilgrim fathers, they would be known to be called, were around their hearth and reading from the Bible with their parents. And it was a grassroots kind of revival. And of course, this is where the Pilgrims began. And they made it very clear that as soon as they began to get their ignorance and sins discovered unto them by the Spirit of God and get converted, the civil society around them began to persecute them. And keep in mind that we had King James, who was a very well-taught theologian, but pagan at heart, loved his royalty. He believed in the divine right of kings, and because of that, he was the head of the church. And if you didn't go along with exactly what they were saying, you were going to be in trouble. And therefore, they were yoking, as Bradford said, the preachers with licenses to make sure that the state was going to make sure that every preacher was not preaching anything that would go against what the state believed, because every church was no longer separate from state authority. And so this was happening to the Pilgrims. Then they ended up forming their own church without permission of the king. John Robinson, their pastor, said, listen, the Bible says where two or three are gathered, there Christ is. We'd rather have Christ here than just some ceremony. And that was it. I mean, King James then said he was going to harry them out of the land. So this was the kind of thing. And not only that, there was a law by 1585 that if a neighbor saw someone not attending the parish church and they were meeting in their homes, they were to turn them in. And if they didn't turn them in, they would get the same punishment that would come to the individuals worshiping outside the church. So you had that kind of pressure upon those people eventually called Pilgrims. Of course, they were not initially called Pilgrims.
So when they finally got to America, or to the New World, America, what was life like for them when they finally arrived?
Well, they decided when they left, they said there's got to be a good reason. Of course, they went to Holland for 11, 12 years, and Amsterdam and Holland, and had some freedom of religion there. And then when the wars were beginning to start with Spain, by 1620, they said, listen, this was their goal. Lastly, and which was not least, they said, a great hope we had, and an inward zeal to propagate and spread the gospel of the kingdom of Christ into the remote parts of the world, yea, though we would be stepping stones unto others for the performing of so great a work. So they knew that they were coming for a multi-generational vision. They knew they were coming not just for their own survival. And only 75 out of the 350 members of the Latin congregation were sent out. And people forget the fact that New England, and in some sense America, is founded on a church plan. And here these individuals came, and they began to then come to the wilderness. And they came under a specific missionary charter. That missionary charter had been put together. They were not to dominate. They were not to steal land. They were not to do those things. They were to serve the natives and bring the gospel and be a good example of Christian character. This was rare at the time period. The reputation of Christianity coming and dominating societies when, whether it was the Jesuits or anyone else, was rampant. And the Pilgrims wanted to come in a different spirit. And so when they did come, there were several key events that led to what we call the first Thanksgiving. It was the first Thanksgiving for the Pilgrims, obviously not the first time anyone gave thanks for a harvest or the provisions of God. And the first key thing was the fact that they wanted to, in some way, make peace with the natives. And when that providentially took place in March of 1621, and they had this peace treaty with the Wampanoag and Massasoit. And Massasoit, this was amazing because Massasoits, they had had a plague, their warriors had been depleted, they were getting threats by other tribes in the area, and so it was a dangerous situation even for the Wampanoag. But we believe, though it's not written directly in history, that when they saw the Pilgrims come with parents and children, wives and children, who never traveled at that time, they realized they were not coming to conquer. You don't bring your wives and children if you're going to just conquer the people and take them and steal it. Now, of course, there were all kinds of misunderstandings between the cultures. But that peace treaty in March of 1621, 2 weeks later, the Mayflower leaves. They are here to stay. Not one Pilgrim returned, even though they lost half their number in that first winter. They were devastated. And yet, they began then to pray and to work with the natives. And providentially, one of the young boys who ran away into the woods got picked up by the Nauset tribe. Now, the Nauset tribe had been robbed of 22 of their natives in 1614 by an Englishman by the name of Hunt. And because of that, they were angry at the white man. And they fired their arrows at the Pilgrims the moment they saw them on the beach having their devotions, when they were still exploring and trying to find a place to settle. So now they had a hostage of theirs. And they communicated with Massasoit because now peace had been declared. And Massasoit said, listen, they know you, that you took some corn, they know this. And the Pilgrims had discussed, if we take anything to help with our survival, we've got to pay them back. Providentially, in about August of 1621, they met with the Nauset tribe. And literally, they had a reconciliation service. And they apologized for their race for mistreating the natives and stealing those individuals. And it was wrong. And after that, when they did that, the boy was returned totally well. They had merely held him, and they came to the plantation and they paid them to satisfy them for any corn they had taken. This is huge, because without a peace treaty and without a reconciliation, there would have been no Thanksgiving. And think of how unique it is.
Amazing.
How unique it is in October of 1621. It's not the first time people gave thanks, but think of the ingredients. You have 3-day feast. You have recreational athletics. We assume, and this history says, probably wrestling matches, bow and arrow, musket contests, whatever it happens to be. But a 3-day feast with 90 natives, and only 45 to 50 pilgrims are left alive. Only 4 adult women are there. Wow. The natives brought most of the food. And this is an amazing miracle.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating history that we have here. Our time's slipping away, though. I wanted to get this because I brought this up in the as we were leading into this, but there's been some Americans that have pointed to the Pilgrims as the first Americans to try out socialism. Break that down for us. How did that go for the Pilgrims?
Sure. Of course, the word socialism wasn't in vogue at the time, but what happened was that the financiers, in order to have this voyage, they had financiers, and some of them claimed to be Christians, and they felt that the Pilgrims were a good investment. They had lost a ton of money in trying to have plantations, whether it was Jamestown or any of the other ones, because they were not self-sustaining. And so they said, how could this be self-sustaining? Well, they said, look, they're coming as families. They're coming as a church in covenant with each other. This has got to be the best investment around. These people are not going to just leave their wives and children. So they invested in it. However, they wanted to insure themselves against the loss. Everybody wants to do that, but in this case, England had already devolved, we say, away from a free economy that they initially would have been spawned by Christianity. And they had what's called the common field concept, which means everything was held in common, so that the individuals who were investing, and this is what they did, they changed their contracts secretly on the Pilgrims when they were starting their voyage, going to England, and they made them work 6 days a week for the common good, the common store. And then people were paid somewhat equally out of that common store. But what they found out is Bradford says, look, we're starving here. After 1 year of trying this out, 2 years trying it out, by the time this happened, it was 1623. He said, look, they think that they're going to try a system of economy as if they're wiser than God, he wrote. No, we know this is not God's kind of economy. People were, women were saying, I don't want to wash other husbands' clothes. I don't want to be able to go into the field, and even if some people are sick, believe it or not, they said that even the best, Bradford says, even the best people with the greatest character and a hunger for God in the wilderness, they would still feign to be sick, knowing they were going to get food anyway. And it produced a laziness.
That's called communism, folks.
Where the incentive was not there to work. So Bradford made a decision with them, without the permission of the financiers, that they would have to set corn and growing some small field. Now they still kept the common field, but they broke away and said, look, each family's on their own. And if you don't work, you're not going to eat. Now, I didn't say that, but that's kind of the concept that was there. And this is the amazing fact. When they switched over in 1623, this is 2 years after that first harvest festival of Thanksgiving, which there's a lot of theories about where that originated. But the idea is, in 1623, we had this happen. They tripled their production in 1 year of acreage and food when they went to this kind of free economy. That's a good lesson for people and Americans.
It sure is. It sure is. All right, real quickly, we only got a couple of minutes left here. Why did it take until President Lincoln's administration for Thanksgiving to become a national holiday? And what lessons can we as modern Americans learn from the Pilgrims and their first Thanksgiving?
Well, first of all, by the time
I do want to say that is a proclamation that you need to read. It is so beautiful. It wasn't a speech. My daughter was supposed to write a thing about a speech. I thought it was a speech. So she got in trouble. But anyway, because I read that Lincoln's Thanksgiving proclamation. It was during the Civil War. It was so amazing. You must go read it. It's so good.
Lincoln had done this. There was many, many Thanksgiving days. In fact, there were over 300 Thanksgiving days called in New England alone by the early 1800s. And most of the Thanksgivings were Thanksgiving, the prayer and fast day in the spring, and then a Thanksgiving service in the fall. And neither of those fit this first 1621 Thanksgiving, but the tradition of calling days of Thanksgiving was very prevalent. And it was particularly thanking God for the provisions he gave you, and even the difficulties he gave. Thanking God for the trials he put you through, because your character got refined as a result of it. Because the doctrine of Thanksgiving preached by the Pilgrims will be foreign to many Americans, and even Christians. Because we don't tend to be, we're thankful when everything goes right, but we're not going to be thankful for when things go wrong. But this is what the doctrine they preached on this. And we had a Thanksgiving was called every year of the American Revolution. A Thanksgiving was called by George Washington when he became president. Many presidents. So this was not new. The part of being a national holiday was what made it new. And when Hale and all those individuals began writing the letters and whatnot to do that, that became a national holiday. And normally when it becomes a national something, it's because it was practiced at the local level. It's dangerous when you try to make something national when you've not been practicing it personally and locally. And in this case, Lincoln's was just the result of what had been practiced by churches and towns for decades and centuries.
Just a little over a minute to go. What kind of lessons do we need to learn as modern Americans from those first Pilgrims?
I think one of the first things we need to learn is to thank God in the midst of whatever we're going through. We tend to be very angry when things don't go our way, when election doesn't go our way, or some town ordinance goes in the wrong direction. But we need to thank God that through all of it, through the difficulty of honing our perseverance and moving forward and learning to serve, and not thinking you can change a nation just politically. A nation has to be changed from the heart up. And asking God, help us, Lord, serve unconditionally, regardless of the results. I think that's the first lesson. I think a second lesson is we've got to be very thankful for the things that we do have and not constantly think about all the things that we don't have. And those two things will be key lessons. And a third lesson would be we have the story. People can go to our website, plymrock.org, plymrock.org. We have lots of resources on this. But the idea would be thankful and read the actual Pilgrim story of Thanksgiving around the table and ask God to help us to be truly grateful.
Thank you so much, Dr.
So I wanted to make sure, okay, how do I
You know how they talked about, making a national holiday after you practice it. What's this Juneteenth?
just fake.
1619?
Yeah.
You
Take away.
What a farce.
Yeah.
So.
Oops. Okay, wrong thing. But the thing when he said we need to get to where we're thankful for our trials, Helena had brought that up. So if we are thankful for our trials, and I learned that I have to ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? So even if it's something in the government politically, what is the government supposed to learn from this wrong, thing that it's doing? Okay, there we go. We can get back to it. Okay.
Okay, so on the whole trial thing really quickly, my experience has been that whenever I have something happen in my life that is difficult to deal with, it's a call for me to repent. And it's usually something about the way I'm doing things or the way I'm living my life that I need to change. And it's typically a wake-up call. Anyway, so getting back to the topic, why was this principle important to the founders? Well, it prevented the government from becoming a tool for forced redistribution. Well, we know that that's not entirely true because our government is probably one of the biggest redistribution
Well, it did at the
mechanisms.
beginning, so we're not talking about that. We talk about signs of
that's what we see
belly
today.
related.
Look at the tax code and you'll understand what that really is about. It ensured individual responsibility and economic freedom and protected against tyranny disguised as compassion, and that's what it always is. Yeah. And they point the finger saying that you're not compassionate if you don't get on board. The founders feared that when governments try to guarantee equal things, that they must take from some to give to others. This creates dependency, erodes freedom, and leads to injustice. Milton Friedman noted, a society that puts equality before freedom will get neither. Mm-hmm. A society that puts freedom before equality will get a high degree of both. Aligning with our founders' vision of prioritizing rights over provision. With 2025's fiscal negotiations aiming to cut waste, fraud, and abuse through the DOGE program, which now is shut down, but I don't quite understand that.
I don't think it's shut down.
We're hearing it's still
Really?
happening.
Okay.
It's not shut down.
I don't know. I just heard.
It's part of the
Elon's
big,
not running it.
Yeah.
There's just so much information out there that's fake.
It's part of the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
They have a department that,
Anyway, so their concerns arose from colonial experiences where overtaxation stifled growth, and reminding us how such policies today mirror those failures if they're not checked. And this principle intellectually commits the nation to limited government, ensuring that citizens shape their own destinies and that they're not accountable to the government for everything they do and say.
So, all right. So, as outlined here, what does it mean to have equal rights? The goal of a society is to provide equal justice, which means protecting the rights of the people equally. So, at a bar of justice, to secure their rights; at the ballot box, to vote for the candidate of their choice; at the public school, to obtain an education. So, in your mind, click off whether we're having equal rights in any of these. At the employment office, to compete for a job. They've destroyed almost all of these, right? Because they want to destroy liberty. At the real estate agency, to purchase or rent a home. Recently, my kids were unfairly, because they weren't Muslim. So all of these. At the pulpit, to enjoy freedom of religion. At the microphone, to present the views on the issues. At the meeting hall, to peaceably assemble. At the print shop, to enjoy freedom of the press. At the store, to buy essentials of life. And boy, if the Muslims take over, we won't get to buy pork, no bacon. We were talking about that this morning on the way, because he had cooked bacon this morning. At the probate court, to pass on to their heirs the fruits of their labors. Yeah, have it right there. So Thomas Sowell remarked, "No one can really understand the political left without understanding that they are about making themselves feel superior. However much they may talk piously about what they are going to do for others." This is critiquing the shift towards the outcome of equality. So this list reveals equal rights as the bedrock of fairness, countering modern encroachment like coercive mandates that undermine personal choice.
Okay, Benjamin Franklin wrote an essay on his deep concern for the poor and the needy. And his insights, compassion, which gives a drunk the means to increase his drunkenness, is counterproductive. We have all kinds of examples of that today. Compassion, which breeds debilitating dependency and weakness, is, again, counterproductive. Compassion, which blunts the desire or necessity to work for a living, is also counterproductive. Compassion, which smothers the instinct to strive and excel, is counterproductive. In 2 Thessalonians 3:10, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat."
In the Bible.
This is encouraging productive compassion or enabling idleness. Honestly, it's just harder, right? It's more effort. I look at it even with my own kids, and I'm trying to, they work with me. And, sometimes I don't help them because I'm too, quote unquote, compassionate. And I've got to do better with that and force them to work harder and do more and not just feel entitled. So, anyway, so Franklin's calculated approach highlights how misguided this is, and it hinders growth. And you think about what's going on with, trying to dial back the all the people on the, what's it called again,
EPTs.
Yeah, well,
food stamps.
Food stamps,
Yeah,
SNAP,
it's like,
EBT.
SNAP,
all
that's
that
what they're
stuff.
called.
Yeah, so and it's like, well, and I think they're heading in the right direction, right? They're trying to force people to at least work part-time.
So
to get those
they
benefits.
asked all 50 states. So Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rawlings, did, and then only 21 of them didn't comply. So then she's going to just take away.
Well, they're going to threaten to take away funding if they're not going to comply.
Yeah, and they haven't. So
Yeah.
and it's supposed to, like, their deadlines do. Okay, so this is the rest of Benjamin Franklin's calculated compassion essay. Do not help the needy completely, merely help them to help themselves. Give the poor the satisfaction of earned achievement instead of rewarding them without achievement. Allow the poor to climb the appreciation ladder from tents to cabins, from cabins to cottages, from cottages to comfortable houses. He did this himself. Benjamin Franklin did this himself. So he understood, and this and that's why he wrote it the way he did. Where emergency help is provided, do not prolong it to the point where it becomes habitual. Strictly enforce the scale of fixed responsibility. The first and foremost level of responsibility is with the individual himself. The second level, we've heard this in church too.
Oh, yeah.
The second level is the family, then the church, and next is the community, finally the county, and in a disaster and emergency, the state, never federal. Under no circumstances is the federal government to become involved in public welfare. Dang, we're off the mark there.
Ooh.
The founders felt it would corrupt the government. Well, did we see FEMA has been totally corrupted? Okay, so felt it would corrupt the government and also the poor. No constitutional authority exists for the federal government to participate in charity or welfare. The states are supposed to provide these, so.
Okay, so how do we practice this principle today? Of course, we have to defend laws that protect property rights and equal treatment under the law, and encourage charity and opportunity through voluntary means. Practicing this principle means supporting systems that reward hard work and initiative while encouraging personal responsibility and generosity, not government handouts. And of course, we have to oppose the policies that penalize success or redistribute wealth unfairly. Charlie Kirk, he said, I love that guy. He said, the government that promises you everything will take everything from you, underscoring the dangers of dependency.
Yeah.
And 2025 pushes for Medicaid work requirements that promote self-sufficiency are the right direction.
So they're going to
It's
revamp
refreshing
all
to
that.
hear the government focused on those types of solutions.
Lying has
as a-
become so lucrative, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
So here's application and action and solution today for this principle. We promote free markets, small business, and entrepreneurship. So I'm really happy that Trump has the Small Business Association, part of his committee. He had his 9th cabinet meeting, and if you want,
I
they
watched
have
the whole
little
thing
venues.
yesterday.
Yeah, so on True Social, they'll have little venues on Rapid Response 47, so you can listen to each person who's held accountable in the meeting. So oppose excessive taxation and wealth redistribution schemes, support welfare reform that emphasizes work and self-reliance. So this principle comes alive in policies that create opportunity rather than dependency. And when citizens are empowered to succeed, society thrives. And so we have. So in the, what comes alive to me for this is the principle comes alive with these policies that create opportunity, right? Equal opportunity rather than dependency. So when citizens are empowered to succeed, then I think the society thrives. I think it starts first in our four walls of our own home, that we have to teach our kids the same thing and not coddle them. And we have a hard time if we both came from, we've got to make sure we do it with our kids. So in Proverbs 14:23, it says, in all toil there is profit. That mere talk tends only to poverty. So there you go.
Say that again.
So in all toil working, there is profit. That mere just talk tends only to poverty. So if you're not going to work, you're just going to
Isn't
be
that the truth?
poor.
Unless you're a politician.
and work your 5 years and you get unlimited retirement.
Do you remember, I was going to ask you guys, do you remember I was teaching a class many years ago, and you might have been there, Heidi and Kathy was there, and I made the comment that the people get into Congress for a number of years so they can get their retirement. And both Julene and Robin shut me down and said that's not true. And it is true.
Yeah.
They can get, after 5 years, they can get a retirement.
So Marjorie Taylor
They-
Greene
is waiting till
waiting and-
January 5th?
Yeah,
6th.
which is she gets her retirement.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so
Honestly, there's not many of us that wouldn't do the same thing. So
Oh, I know.
It's kind of hard to be too
Yeah.
critical.
So this inspires productive policies and opportunity rather than passive aid. And again, it aligns with these new SNAP 2025 reforms, reducing administrative burdens to focus on genuine need for a short time for American citizens only in time of emergency. So these challenges will be growth, ensuring that we'll aspire to, we need to work. So that's what we need to do. Okay, so.
Okay, John Adams wrote that all men are born to equal rights is true. Every being has a right to his own, as clear, as moral, as sacred as any other being has. But to teach that all men are born with equal powers and faculties, to equal influence in society, to equal property and advantages through life is gross fraud.
Yep.
Life isn't fair. It's not going to be fair. There's no way to reconcile that. You can try all you want. You can implement whatever government policies you want. It's just not going to happen.
But equal opportunity, and you know, character merit. You need to work hard, and you'll go far.
Well,
American
hard work and persistence is the great leveler. And we've seen so many examples of that where individuals are able to work hard and be persistent and make something out of really nothing. It's an amazing thing to witness.
Okay, so here's our signs of success. Equal rights protected regardless of background. So if this principle is being lived, these are the signs of success. Citizens are free to pursue their goals with minimal interference. Society values fairness and opportunity over forced outcomes. Success is seen when rights are protected and prosperity is earned, and not when it is artificially distributed. This fosters innovation, dignity, and responsibility. And Ronald Reagan echoed, we should measure welfare success by how many people leave welfare, not how many people are added. And isn't this, I mean, no other government had a constitution that did this, that actually said self-governance, self-reliance, and produced such prosperity. Our country is so prosperous because of our Constitution and the founders and doing this. So next we have the signs of failure.
Okay, so the signs of failure, of course, warnings include governments trying to equalize results through coercion. Typically that's just consolidation of wealth to the elite. That's the ultimate goal. Dependency grows while productivity
Citizens
declines.
punished, you missed that one.
And citizens punished for success or discouraged from working. When government promises to provide for everyone, it must control everyone. And history shows this path leads to central planning, stagnation, and the loss of freedom. Thomas Sowell, who I really, really respect, said the following: the welfare state is the oldest con game in the world. First you take people's money away quietly, and then you give some of it back to them flamboyantly. It's such a great way to describe it. These signs of failure erode trust and aid expansions without reform perpetuate failure.
So part of this is the DEI in school, or the CRT, or the SEL, all those that we've been studying in this class. So I always like to do this slide because I'm an affirmations lady, like the Family Virtues Project. And so say it in your mind and repeat after me. And if you want, you can take a screenshot. And what I used to do with my kids with virtues or affirmations is we would repeat it every day, or I'd make a poster. So I believe in equal rights, not equal things. I will protect liberty by supporting opportunity, not entitlement. So these affirmations commit us to a vision of equal rights, rooted in freedom and fairness, not forced uniformity. True compassion uplifts without enslaving. And true compassion is always, we have the choice to give and the choice to serve.
Okay, as with anything else, this all starts in the home. And so family application, or family challenges and civic application is a really important part of this learning. You know, how do you apply it at home? Discuss the difference between equal rights and equal things with your children. Sometimes just that conversation and framing it for people helps them to get their bearings around why it's important. So volunteer or donate to causes that help people become self-reliant, and there's all kinds of them out there. People, just good people really trying to help. Teach children to become self-reliant, which helps them rise by protecting their rights, not by taking from others. Empower them to build and give freely. From the Bible in Galatians 6:5, it says, "For each will have to bear his own load," stressing personal responsibility. Building and creating empowers us and our communities. And this really bridges family and civic duty.
So a final thought on this principle is from George Washington. "For happily the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good." So this principle 7 reminds us that freedom requires limited government, When government protects rights, not redistributes wealth, liberty and prosperity can flourish for all. So good government will protect, not provide. So that's pretty much this. Oh, and this is what we did last time, but we're not doing that. So we'll not do this one either yet because we're not done. So now we're going to go to our principle 27. Let me see if this one's principle 27. That's 26.
I'll tell you, the 5,000-year leap is such an amazing book.
It really is.
I mean,
It is.
Skousen really hit the nail on the head with that.
He did.
It's truly inspired.
So that's why we decided, you know what, each of the 28 principles need to be studied, in depth. So God told us to do it, and so that's why we did it. And we've been going at it so tomorrow is 26, tomorrow night, so we have 3 more lessons. And it sure is a lot of work, but we've learned a lot.
It is a lot of work. We've learned it, what, 3 times now if we taught it, or twice over the 16 years? 2 or 3 times.
I think at least 3 times when you did we've taught the lessons at least. But never one principle at a time, right? Okay, so this is principle 27, debt, a threat to liberty. The burden of debt, we're going to find out again at the end of the month when this comes up again. The burden of debt is a destructive to freedom as subjugation by conquest. So that's pretty serious. Okay, whoops, I need to go back. Okay, you did that one. Okay, wait, okay.
Okay, so as we look at this image, someone crying out for help, and a pile of bills, right? We've all felt that, I think, at different times in our lives where we can't see our way through all the clutter of just financial responsibility that we might be facing. So it's easy to relate to, but it captures the essence of this principle, which is principle number 27, where debt is portrayed as a profound threat to freedom, and it truly is. You think about it just from a personal perspective, how it restricts your life. I think we've all experienced that, where we're like, oh my gosh, I got to make this payment. How am I going to get it made? And inevitably.
And they target our college kids with visas and high schooling, and then they start their life off in such debt. It's chains.
Yeah.
Okay, in Proverbs 22:7 it says, the rich rule over the poor, so true, and the borrower is the slave to the lender. And
The Bible has it all.
All this talk about, reparations and slavery and all we're still dealing with it, and it's everyone's burden. Doesn't matter what your skin color is or where you came from. Debt surrounds us, and it's a big problem in our society today. So this is really ancient wisdom. It's not just something we've dealt with in this era, but it's something that's been kind of part of human history. It creates a form of bondage, right? That erodes personal and also national autonomy. If you think about the burden of the national debt, for example. So in today's economy, with the national debt 38, 39, it's growing
interesting because
rapidly.
Brock is saying it's only 35. Are they paying it down with tariffs? I don't know. Isn't that interesting?
I don't think they've had quite that much revenue yet, but they could be.
Well, not just
a portion
tariffs
of it.
with all their other
Well, the
stuff.
idea,
Yeah.
so what they're trying to do with the debt is,
We have a good lesson on tariffs.
they're going to shrink the duration of the debt, so they're going to call all the longer term bonds, and then they're going to issue shorter term debt to lower the interest rate. And then, of course, they're going to lower interest rates through the Fed, and then that will help manage the interest rate, and then or the actual debt burden, and then eventually as the
national
tariffs
debt, right?
kick in,
Yeah.
they'll have more money to pay that down more quickly.
So
There's
there's
also
a
some
thing
other
at the
stuff going
Supreme
on.
Court, they're trying to stop the tariffs?
Yeah.
Well,
Hopefully that doesn't happen, because if it does, then we've lost.
I mean, that's what the founding fathers, that's how we.
but you have to realize how many people are, interests outside of just even America. You think about China, how much influence they have within our political sphere.
Yeah.
So, of course, that case is going to the Supreme Court because there's a lot of money on it.
And I'm hoping that Jackson gets removed because she was appointed by Autopin, and he said, So if she gets removed and Trump gets
Who?
to Jackson.
Chomji Brown,
Yeah.
Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
That won't happen.
You don't think so? Oh, I think so. I think that
We hope
that is
so.
planned.
I would
Well,
love to see it.
in
I'm
fact-
not
No,
gonna
because
hold
he's
my
so
breath.
strong that in his truth, he said, if Biden can counter this, but if he does, we'll get you for perjury.
Yeah.
They've got it all. So he's so powerful that he's like everything.
Who
All
is
executive-
Trump? Yeah.
All executive orders, all pardons, all proclamations are
Null
dead.
and void.
Yeah, dead. And you challenge me, we'll get you on perjury.
That's 92% of it, is that?
Yeah. So I'm like, anyway, sometimes we have to have some fun. And,
Oh, I love it.
Have the hope.
I'm just scared that nothing's gonna happen, so.
So in all the struggles that families are having with this burden of debt, because really the impact of it is, it's a tax, right? It's a way for the government to tax its citizens through inflation, and anyway, purchasing power is eroded. You can't buy as much for your dollar.
Your kids are probably complaining at my kids.
I don't remember the stat, but
They
if you look at purchasing power, since
Yeah.
we went off the gold standard, I mean, the dollar's worth like just a fraction, a small fraction
Yeah.
of what it used to be
So
worth.
like, it's not like when you guys were growing up and trying to get into a house. So we got to do something about it.
Yeah, it's really, and it's not just, a number. It's really the erosion of the independence that our forebears fought for. And so by recognizing debt as this internal adversary, which it really is, we can begin to analyze in terms of the way it really truly impacts us. And this is on a micro level too. You can look at your own life and you can probably see these parallels. And you just expand that out to the family level, and then the community level, and the state, national level, and even the globe. Have you ever seen the maps of how debt is held across the world? It's just a big Ponzi scheme.
It is.
It is so funny to look at because you're like, oh my gosh, because it's just an eye opener as to how this is all really set up. It's a house of cards in many, many ways. And now you've got the yen carry trade unwinding right now, which people have been using to finance all kinds of things all over the world, and it's interesting to watch that. Everybody's having to sell. They've got to sell assets and pay that back. Okay, so by recognizing debt as an internal adversary, we begin to analyze its long-term impacts, and such as how unchecked borrowing fuels dependency on foreign lenders. Compromising our sovereignty in ways that are reminiscent of historical empires that collapsed under similar weights.
Remember Greece collapsed?
The what?
Greece.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Greece.
Mhm.
That was the most
Yep.
recent one that I remember. Yeah.
And honestly, it's tariffs that are helping us to regain that sovereignty. If you really understand the economics behind tariffs, all the scare tactics in the media are just designed to deceive you, because markets don't work. It's not a simple linear equation around the way markets work. So tariffs are actually helping us to restore the balance of economic power in favor of the United States. And a lot of our economic power has been exported to other nations by politicians that have
Purposely to weaken
profited
us,
off that
right?
for decades, really. And so tariffs are a really important part of the economic policy that will help to really help America reset economically. President Trump even said that within 2 years we may be able to abolish income tax, which is really an interesting concept.
Get rid of the mistake.
Or
the planned.
Yeah.
The planned,
Planned.
taking other people's money.
Yeah.
They talk about this as the new, Trump always calls it the new golden age. And I do see how that is, there's a lot of truth to that. We're not there yet. But I do think a lot of the pieces are being put in place for us to see very significant economic prosperity over the next several years.
Okay, so the burden of debt is as destructive to freedom as subjugation by conquest. So we have to say it, like I said, 3 times. That's our second time. And so in DNC 104:78, it says, "And again, verily I say unto you, concerning your debts, behold, it is my will that you shall pay all your debts." This reminds us of the divine imperative to maintain financial ourselves integrity, and we should, our country should too, our state should too. So consider how debt acts like an invisible conqueror, gradually limiting our ability to innovate. And that's the big talk at Charlie Kirk's funeral. Stephen Miller said, that their side doesn't know how to create or innovate or, they just want to take away liberty. So, or invest freely, much like how ancient civilizations again fell to armies, but not to armies, but to economic overextension. It isn't mere rhetoric, it's a call for intellectual vigilance, analyzing how dependency on credit, so talk to your kids before about credit, and then they find a spouse with credit, you gotta figure all that out. Undermines self-reliance, forcing individuals and nations into cycles of obligation that stifle true liberty. So embracing this, the burden of debt is as destructive to freedom as subjugation by conquest. We honor the foundational idea that freedom thrives only when unencumbered by such chains. So we need to unchain it, right?
Okay, so for the third time, the burden of debt is as destructive to freedom as subjugation by conquest. Debt is a silent enemy that weakens liberty from within. The founders believed national and personal debt erode freedom just as surely as foreign invaders. Debt leads to dependency, higher taxation, inflation, and eventual loss of sovereignty. Ronald Reagan once observed, we don't have $1 trillion debt because we have taxed enough, because we haven't taxed enough. We have $1 trillion debt because we spend too much. And that's just like, okay, no brainer. Thank you.
So how much is our debt just given to fraud, waste, and abuse?
Well, we just found that out with Minnesota.
Yeah. 1 billion in Minnesota. That's what they said.
6 billion, isn't it?
I don't know. I thought it was 1 billion. It could be 6 billion.
No, I don't know.
1 billion?
It's 1 billion, yeah.
And it's really just the never-ending social programs that, create really a dependency.
Well, and there's a lot of theft there too.
Yeah.
There's straight up theft.
Oh, we saw
fraud
that
and
with
theft.
those. It has not been managed well at
Yeah.
all. It's kind of a joke. So debt's insidious nature lies in its compounding effects, and if you understand the math behind debt, it's really scary how it compounds. So if you're on the other side of that equation, of course you like that because then you're making
money on their debt.
So interest payments alone now consume a significant portion of federal revenues. In fact, they far exceed. Our budget far exceeds our revenues, not the interest on the debt, but I think we spend 50% more than we take in, or 50 or 60% more than we actually take in, which is just mind-blowing. And so diverting funds from defense and infrastructure, this really creates vulnerability where economic policy becomes reactive, not proactive, mirroring historical patterns like, the Roman Empire's fall, for example. If we understand this principle intellectually, it means recognizing that fiscal health is integral to national security, urging us to prioritize balanced approaches that preserve our hard-won independence. And really, I think one of the best models on the planet here is the church. They preach it really, really well, and they practice it, I think, even better. And it's something that we can reflect on in our own lives. How can we do a better job following really that lead that they've set? They've done a great job.
President Trump came and looked at our welfare system and had a little tour with Kazi. They gave him a Christus.
With who?
President Trump and Kazi, Bishop. Now he's an apostle, but yeah. So why was this principle important to the founders? So George Washington warned against ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. And Thomas Jefferson called public debt the greatest of dangers to be feared. So debt was seen as a slippery slope toward increased taxation and centralized, which we don't want centralized control. So the founders believed that debt enslaves future generations. We're feeling it. They saw physical responsibility as a civic and a moral duty critical to preserving freedom. So we're active in civics. Let's teach our children and grandchildren to be active. And it was the Boy Scouts that got me for a merit badge with my boys to go to my first city council meeting. So and we have to learn and get active in civics. So Milton Friedman insightfully noted, the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt. And we've said that over and over. And no one's been, the Republicans make peace with evil all the time. And so they're not ever bold enough to do that. So hopefully this time they can rally with the MAGA. So this principle reveals the founders' foresight in linking economic discipline to enduring liberty. Thoughtfully, their concerns weren't abstract. They stemmed from experiences with colonial debts that fueled revolutions. So they had experience in this. And they knew that, like revolutions, we're calling things now a color revolution. So I want to show that little video I was telling you about when he walked away. So today this translates to analyzing how centralized spending erodes state powers and individual rights, emphasizing that moral stewardship over resources is essential to avoid the tyranny of financial overreach.
Okay, so how do we practice this principle today? Support balanced budgets and debt reduction at all levels of government. And everything starts locally, right? So how do we do a better job here just within our communities? Support balanced budgets and debt reduction. Practice personal financial responsibility. Of course, if you do that in your own home, you start to understand the principles.
And they don't do a really good job, even though our kids have a half a year supposed to do that. That class is not very good. So if you can find a good curriculum for your kids and grandkids, our education is quite lacking in that personal, physical responsibility.
Demand transparency and accountability in public spending, and that's why I love what's being done to put things on the blockchain, because public blockchains are so transparent. So it's going to be, I think that's coming, and that should improve our visibility into what's really happening to prevent some of the blatant fraud that's been part of our history. So we must elect leaders committed to fiscal restraint and educate our families on the dangers of debt at every level, national, state, and also community, local community and household. Thomas Sowell, he remarked that the national debt ceiling, what it does is it allows Democrats to gain votes by spending the government's money. So they buy votes, right? That's what politicians do. They're acting in a self-interested way, and that's natural, but it's also illegal and it's immoral, and then we need to keep trying to hold that in check.
Is that called insider trading?
Well, that's kind of a separate issue, but
Oh, okay.
I guess you could call that.
She's putting another bill that no
Who is?
insider trade. Luna,
Oh.
Paula Luna, I think.
Paulina
she says
Luna.
no insider trading.
And we have to force all politicians to share the responsibility around raising the debt limit, and really a rethinking of how we budget. It's not a cut if you don't get to grow it at the same rate you did last year, right? That's not a true cut, but they frame it that way in Washington, right? So it's really a cultural thing that we have to change around how we manage money. So this critique aligns really with a call for accountability, particularly as in 2025 we see renewed pushes for spending reforms, and practicing this means dissecting how opaque budgets mask inefficiencies, and this leads to all kinds of problems, but ultimately it impacts individuals and working families. The people that are actually earning a living are bearing that burden, and the ones that aren't working, of course, are just benefiting from it.
Yeah.
So tying personal habits to civic duties, we foster a culture where fiscal prudence safeguards freedom, preventing the gradual slide into dependency that the founders so astutely feared.
So application and action and solution today for Principle 27 about debt and our government. Advocating for a balanced budget, like you said, amendment and spending caps, promoting financial literacy and saving in homes and schools, opposing excessive government borrowing or unfunded programs. This principle is practiced when citizens push for economic integrity and refuse to trade future liberty to present for present convenience. So it is common sense to include financial education to empower individuals to break the cycles of debt, while structural reforms in government ensures it doesn't mortgage our children's opportunities. So aligning action with the enduring pursuit of self-governing prosperity. So when we are listening to what's going on either in Congress or in our own legislature, we need to be looking at these things and saying, you know, what's coming up, and then we can get involved in that way.
Okay, so what are the signs of success? Obviously, lowering national debt would be a good indicator, and it's a must. It has to happen. We're kind of getting to this inflection point where you'll start seeing runaway inflation because you won't be able to manage it. And that's happened in economies and can happen in America. It's just a bigger economy, so it takes a little bit longer. But we'll eventually get there. So I don't know what the math is, but we're not far from it. Citizens living within their means and avoiding dependency and high levels of savings, investment, and long-term planning. All the things that we talk about, but sometimes it's difficult to do. So fiscally healthy society has the freedom to invest in the future and respond to emergencies without compromising its sovereignty or putting undue burdens on others. This echoes Doctrine and Covenants 64:27. Behold, it is said in my laws, or forbidden to get in debt to thine enemies. We are in debt to a lot of our enemies.
Oh, yeah.
So this warns against vulnerabilities that success mitigates. With 2025 stock market gains, I mean, it's been going on, this market, don't get me started on the stock market. But so prudent investments amid lowering inflation, these are signs that indicate progress when analyzed against historical booms of followed fiscal restraint. Our markets are so out of control and highly manipulated. So something's going to have to give here, and there's a lot of things kind of converging right now. That
Have you watched silver lately?
Oh, I know.
It's going through the roof.
Is it?
They think it's, yeah.
What's it at?
Is
it's like 59.
59, and it was like 47, and they're predicting it could go to 600 because it's in so many.
Well, that 600 just gets it back to its historical parity
They just
with gold.
put it down.
So it's and the problem
Well,
with
gold's
silver,
out of this
like-
world.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So we knew that we were supposed to invest, and we had here our gold and silver or gold backs. We have a law with gold backs in Utah. And, but did you see that with the Trump's $1,000?
The savings account
Yeah.
things they started
Yeah.
yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, and that goes into effect July 4th.
What is that?
So it's $1,000 if you have a child born between January 1st, 2025 until he leaves at December 31st, 2028. But then what happened yesterday was the Dell couple, like the computers.
Dell, the people that do Dell computers,
Yeah, they're going to give
$6.2 billion.
Yeah. And it's $250. If you read it, it's $250 per child 18 and under can apply. And
I thought they said it was 10 and under.
Yeah. Well, I read on Trump's. If you go to whitehouse.gov, you can click.
Well,
on
they yesterday they were stood at the pulpit and they were saying it's for any child under the age of 10. The age of 10 and under get $250.
So they might have
savings
corrected
account.
it on the
Maybe
actual
so.
document.
I don't know.
Yeah. So on the document it said like 18 and under.
25 million children
Yeah.
are going to get the savings account, and they can't touch the money till 18.
Yeah. And you're allowed.
And you can contribute.
Yeah, so for both of those accounts, you're allowed parents, grandparents to put money into it. I think with Trump's account, it's like limits $5,000 a year. But then they say how much money they'll have by the time they're past the adult. So I thought
So it'll
that
give
is
them a
sign
nice
of-
jump start when they turn 18
Yeah.
to have a nice savings account.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one more point on this. So success here means shifting from consumption-based. We always hear how great the American consumer is, right? And that's true. I mean, we consume. We can buy stuff, man. But a consumption-driven economy is really not the gold standard. The gold standard really is, production and savings.
So that's like Trump. It's
And
bringing
investing
production
and consuming in a way that is rational and not exacerbated by debt, which is really what we do in America. So this ensures resilience against global uncertainties and preserving liberty to chart our own course.
So I think with him bringing back manufacturing, but I'm still disappointed in the Secretary of Education.
She hasn't closed them down yet.
But no, she's not
That's a
closing him
rabbit hole.
down. She's going to close her down, but it's not really closing it down. She's giving it to the Department of Workforce. She's giving it to Department of Human Health and Services and the State Department. Where is that money? In Utah, we found out the Department of Workforce is giving money to the Somalis and to the Afghans that Cox has brought in. So to me, I'm like, what are you doing? But then she talked about, well, if we've got all this manufacturing, we need to make education for workforce. That sounds a lot like Germany. You know, whether they took a test and then they decided what you're going to be, and now you're going to be work in a. So I'm a little scared of her still, because as an educator, I do not like that we're still getting federal money to the state, so that's just hiding it. It's not transparent to me at all, because it's just putting it in those three different, she's like, well, we're going to test it out. Well, come to Utah. See that our Department of Workforce money, even the kindergarten thing, that when Lena went to kindergarten, she's a senior this year, it said Department of Workforce on the back of that little flyer, and I was like, why is the Department of Workforce involved in our education? And same with health. That is taking away freedom. So signs of failure, that's to me a sign of failure. Okay, so soaring national debt and runaway inflation, we've got all of these. Economic crises due to unstable borrowing, generational poverty, and they want those kids into generational poverty. The visas are there when you go to college. Sign up here, get this.
They're voters.
Financial dependence on the government. So debt can silently erode the foundations of liberty when governments borrow beyond their means, and the result is reduced freedom, rising costs, and fewer opportunities for the next generation. And it's causing a tinderbox too for them to now be ripe to learn how to be social justice warriors. Right? We've been wrong. And so, okay, so debt can, okay, here we go. So Charlie Kirk, he emphasized one of the things that we have to address most urgently is our debt and deficit. I'm so sad that he's gone, because I don't know if anybody
we want
can
his
replace
voice
him.
out there. That's why
Yeah.
when he was killed, I decided to make sure we put Charlie Kirk quotes all through our presentation, because he was such an impactful individual. And so
So
Yeah, the
Turning Point
adversary had to
USA
take him out.
Yeah. So Turning Point USA, if your kids, if they have, BYU I found out does have one, so I'm trying to get my son that's there now. But yeah, we went to Megan Kelly and Erica Kirk just like 2 weekends ago, and listened to her in Arizona, and it's just so heartbreaking still. I'm just so heartbroken. I secretly thought that hopefully she was pregnant, and she said the same thing.
She
She's
wasn't.
Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just so sad. I'm just so heartbroken. Anyway.
So there's a Morgan Philpott, another one class that was posted. It's 3 parts, and he actually, and I need to go back and listen to it again, but he found that there's a prophecy that kind of brings Charlie in. I'm like, ooh, for the last days.
Oh.
And
well, we really feel that Erica Kurt, because I think she's Catholic and he's like Methodist.
he was
Protestant.
I thought he
Protestant.
was looking at converting over, but
He was
hadn't.
looking at, but that Vincent guy that was there, he spoke, but he was in the car. He was there when they was killed, and then held him in the car. He was his mentor. Trump had a mentor named Vincent. So now I need to go back and see if it's the same last name. A Christian mentor. So he talked at the last thing, but she talked all LDS theology. About families, eternal. I'm like, but they're surrounded by LDS
They are.
employees.
They are.
And I was like, whoa,
Well,
that is all.
she tells her children now that Daddy
Yeah.
is in heaven building a home for our family. That's an LDS doctrine.
Yes, it is.
So it was really cool to hear
kind of
that.
fun.
I thought that was awesome.
And so if you haven't heard, if you weren't when he was killed, right before that question, there was a question about
Trans.
but it was before transgenders. The question before transgenders was about Jesus Christ and the Mormon Church, and he bore his testimony of Jesus Christ and forgiveness and repentance, and it's the only way you can be saved. And he says, I have lots of LDS people around me, and part of it's like I honored. But he actually got to bear testimony of Jesus right before he was killed, within a minute. And then that next question, and it was like.
It was so fast.
Yeah, it was anyway. Okay, so.
Were you going to say something great?
Well, you may know this, but at the memorial service in Arizona, Dr. Ben Carson quoted Cleon Skousen.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of, so the reason why it was Prophet Harold B. Lee that told Cleon Skousen, he was an FBI agent, told him to write this book to give to Congress, actual federal Congress. They understood because things were going downhill then, right? And then he actually asked him to write the one that that Ben Carson said, which was the Naked Communist. And the only, I learned this here from Colette and Julene, the only secular book ever held up in conference was the Naked Communist. And he told all of us to read it. And so, because we are literally at that point again.
Yeah.
So anyway, these failures, we have so many of these failures, and we can see Doge's exposing this waste, fraud, and abuse. And we got to confront this to reverse these trends. And so I think, too, that we still do have stuff going on because they're, okay, so here we go. So these current impacts.
Okay, so if you think about national debt, how it impacts everyday Americans, you have rising inflation, which is eroding savings and increasing the living, the costs for families. Warren Buffett, I want to say, said I thought something very profound about inflation. He says, if you want to avoid the impact of inflation, own a business. And that's so true, right? Because if you own a business, then your revenues and your income should move with inflation, right? All else equal. But it is really true. And so you want to think about how do you, from a personal perspective, plan around these things, because they're real, and everybody's circumstances are different, but there are solutions, and you have to do a little bit of research and put a little effort into it, but you can mitigate the impacts in your personal life and for your family. So it limits job growth in key sectors due to economic uncertainty. It reduces funding for essential services like education and infrastructure. Generational inequity as young people inherit the unsustainable burdens of the past, and it stifles innovation as resources are funneled into interest payments rather than productive investments. So consider Doctrine and Covenants 136:25. Thou shalt be diligent in preserving what thou hast, that thou mayst be a wise steward. And this really is about stewardship. This is all Heavenly Father's. It's on loan to us. And what a beautiful, beautiful world He's created. And if you think about this from the perspective of stewardship, I think it gives a little bit of a different perspective. And I know there's people that have been given more than others because they're such excellent stewards. I'm convinced of that.
It's kind of like the parable of the talents, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Heavenly Father does reward faithful stewardship, and so it's something to think about. Like, how can we be better stewards? How can I be a better steward? So debt is really a barrier to opportunity. It's a barrier to growth. It's a barrier to so many very positive things which God wants us to experience. He wants the very best for His children. He doesn't want us to suffer under the burdens of debt. He wants us to enjoy the beauty of the world that He created for us.
Just in case you need to help them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, are we done?
Yeah.
Do you change my slide?
Yeah, because that was done. But do you need to answer them? They're asking. Do you need help?
Yeah.
No, that was done. No, you were very good testimony of that. So historical examples of debt leading to societal decline. So now we're going back in history. So the Roman Empire's overextension through wars and welfare programs. The French Revolution sparked by unsustainable royal debts and taxation. And I had never even heard of
Weimar Republic.
Yeah, Weimar Republic's hyperinflation from post-war reparations. Is that Germany? I was going to look it up. That's what
Weimar,
I thought.
Germany.
So modern Greece's 2010, that's the one I remember the most, crisis from unchecked borrowing. And then that led to all their immigration coming in, right? Argentina's repeated defaults due to populist spending, and lessons from the U.S. post-revolutionary war debt management. Things happened, and I wonder about the other declaration that was signed that we think in 1867 or something. to pay off the debt. I don't know if that's really real. We'll see. Parallels today's global debt trends in developed nations.
Another good one would have been Venezuela.
Oh yeah, Venezuela would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just talk about Argentina really quick? That's where I served my mission. I was there the very month that they had their first democratically elected president in many, many years. They'd been taken over by the military, coups over and over again, but they used to be such a very rich country. And the Catholic Church had a lot of money. I mean, they had a lot of commerce, and then they nationalized a lot of their industry called Industria Argentina.
That's the downfall.
and they'd always like, will you sell me your Sony radio when you go, or like whatever, you know, anything Japanese or American. They kind of had the black market, but the inflation was terrible.
Yeah.
And it took Alfonsine to kind of go toward Reagan. That was during Reagan's years, and I'd just been working in Washington, D.C., and my director was an expert in Argentina. He'd served his mission there too, and so he told me all about the Falkland Islands and this whole thing. So I did a lot of research on it, and a lot of the South American countries did feel betrayed by America because they had the Organization of the American States before NATO. So there was some historical basis for them feeling like we didn't come to their rescue as an American state, but they were doing it to save their bacon, and that's why Alfonsine came in, is because the militaries just, you know, they biffed it really bad. They overplayed their hand, because Falkland Islands is close, but it wasn't, you know, it was England and then NATO, and anyway, so
crazy.
it's interesting. It's good to know the history, but yeah, now it's
To look that this debt can, you know.
now with Trump in, like they're shifting toward, you know, that.
Argentina is
Malaya's been very good.
Yeah. So so these nations are being, you know, lots of color revolutions are going on through debt and all of that, through the military. So Ronald Reagan, what she brought up, warned, we raised our debt limit 3 times in the last 12 months, and now our national debt is 1.5 times the amount of the entire economic output. And that's what we keep seeing over and over again as each new president comes in. So these cases demonstrate that fiscal irresponsibility accelerates collapse, emphasizing the imperative to learn from history to avert similar fates through disciplined policies.
So, strategies for personal debt reduction and building wealth. Tracking expenses meticulously to identify unnecessary spending. These are really basic, right?
But do they do that in government?
But, no,
We are now.
but these are things we can do even individually, right?
Yeah.
You know, building
Personal,
an emergency fund, so you have 3 to 6 months of living expenses available if there is a problem. Prioritize high interest debts using snowball or avalanche methods, which we're not going to talk about, but there's ways to expedite payment of debt. Invest in education or skills for higher earning potential. Seek community resources like financial counseling or programs on self-reliance. Teach children budgeting through allowance systems. So really important. If you teach these principles early in life, then they tend to stick with the kids. And there's really interesting ways to do that. You can diversify income streams to buffer against economic shifts. So there's, you know, you can invest in different types of investments that create income rather than just relying on, of course, your salary. Grow a garden, plant fruit trees, keep chickens, although chickens are expensive to keep. I don't know if
Our backyard is where the
unless you've got
lions
like
and
the ability to have them free range.
lots of raccoons.
I don't think, when we have eggs, they're like $10 a pop.
It's so hard to keep them.
I don't see the value in the whole chicken thing unless you're.
We loved it for a while, but it was
Anyway,
hard to do.
so building food storage systems that can help foster self-reliance and see you through maybe tight times. And then, this can help ensure freedom through proactive financial, again, stewardship. It really is about stewardship. How are we managing the resources God's given us?
So on this lesson are affirmations for economic freedom. So repeat those in your mind, or you might want to take a picture or make a poster. So I live within my means and teach others to do the same. I believe that physical responsibility is essential to liberty. So these affirmations commit us to a culture of thrift, responsibility, and long-term thinking, and freedom requires financial integrity. So I think our kids are getting out of this culture of thrift. And I remember being in 6th grade having to interview my grandmother about the Depression. And it was quite interesting. She got duped by gypsies. I'm like, it was a fun, I didn't think it was that, like, I have to go record my grandma. And then I asked her, and she's telling me this gypsy story. And it was really funny. It was actually really, it was a funny, I'll have to tell you, it's not on camera, her crazy story. Because I was like, as a 6th grader, Grandma, you got duped into doing that? Anyway, don't do that. Okay.
Okay, once again, family challenge and civic application. How can we apply these principles? You create a family budget and discuss long-term financial goals and learn how the national debt affects your family. You can teach your children about that, or your grandchildren, and how it affects the future. Not just the present, but actually the future. And then you vote accordingly, right? And these are things that we should question their candidates on and commit them to. Families must understand that just as personal debt limits choices, national debt can limit our freedom, and financial education is really a patriotic responsibility. That we have to understand. You can't be a good steward of anything if you don't understand the finance behind it. And I think some of that is, I have an MBA in finance, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand, and I have to really dig to get into even sometimes the most basic understanding of how different principles work. So it does take effort.
Okay, so I'm trying to find, because I want to find her video that we're going to do at the end.
Okay.
I can connect my phone to
Do you have it?
yeah.
Okay, let's see.
So I'm going to do one more, well, just one.
I think you would have to close this out.
Okay,
Let me
just
see.
finish this and then we'll do it. Okay, so Thomas Jefferson says, to preserve our independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. So Principle 27 teaches financial bondage is a form of tyranny. And to preserve liberty, we must pursue physical discipline, not only in government, but in our homes and in our communities. Okay, so then we always end with this, that to stay, anchored in hope, there's 4 ways. We look to God, not government. We prioritize family time. We study the Constitution from the viewpoint of the Founding Fathers, and we think the most important thing is to ask God how we can be part of the solution. And it usually always starts, that's why we call it Families for Liberty, raising guardians of the Republic. Because that's what our founders said, that we were raising the next generation. And so ask God what little things that you can do in your own home. You can start a patriotic library. For Christmas, there's lots of really fun books that you can get to have in your home if grandkids come over and things like that. Okay, so how do I
Okay, so if you close that, okay. Now, I think I have to plug that. Let me check. Maybe not.
Because this is so important, this one.
Okay, it is on Apple
And
TV.
she's a
I
true
need to.
social defender of the Republic. So if you want to write that down, and she's a former military.
I have to plug it back into my Apple TV.
So she's got a Substack article about, so she's doing a video about her Substack Color Revolution article, Defender of the Republic. So she's Defender of the Republic 22, if you do the @ sign, on True Social.
Okay, so now what you do?
Do I do
Why
on
is
my
it doing
phone?
it? Hang on.
Do I do that?
Yeah, I don't know why. Why is it doing that?
Maybe it's AirPlay? Is it through AirPlay? And I do it on my phone on AirPlay?
No, but it shouldn't be doing that. Let me get my,
Because it was on Apple TV, but.
okay, hang on.
Yeah. Colette's the queen of technology.
Okay, now, you go on your phone,
And I do
pull
the-
it down.
And I do the screen mirroring, and I do living room, right?
Yes. And it'll be living room.
Yep, there you go.
Here you go.
So this is her Defender of the Republic, Defender of the Republic 22, and then we're gonna watch this.
And I don't know if you can expand it out any further. Turn your phone and see if maybe it makes.
Okay, and how do we get the volume? Oh, me.
Real reason. I think I found the real reason George Soros is still allowed to operate freely inside the United States while he's been kicked out or heavily restricted in Russia, Hungary, Turkey, Pakistan, Poland, the Philippines, and a half dozen other countries. The answer is simple, and it's hiding in plain sight. George Soros has probably been one of the CIA's most valuable private assets for over 40 years. He's the civilian deniable billion-dollar funding arm of American regime change operations worldwide. That's why no attorney general, no Congress, and no president has ever seriously moved to shut him down here. He's not just allowed in America, he's protected. This is why both George and Alex are so arrogant. If you've seen my video on color revolutions, you already know the script. Soros bankrolled this prototype in Serbia in 2000, refined it in Georgia in 2003, Ukraine in 2004, and the Arab Spring in 2011. The same USAID, NED, and Open Society Foundation's logos appear in every single one. The Arab Spring was the trial run for Europe's migrant crisis. In 2011, the CIA and Soros turned that playbook on Libya and Syria. Gaddafi warned the West in March of 2011 that if you take him out, millions would flood Europe from Africa. 8 months later, he was dead, and Libya was chaos, and the migrant waves began exactly as he had predicted. By 2015-2016, battle-hardened jihadists and economic migrants were streaming across the Mediterranean with iPhones, prepaid cards, and Twitter guides written in Arabic, the same social media mobilization tactics used in Kyiv and Tahrir Square. Wayne Madsen called it straight in 2015. This was a deliberate Soros CIA social engineering operation to fracture Europe from within. Same playbook, new target, and now we have America, 2020 to present. Remember the 2020 summer riots? Soros Open Societies Foundations gave at least $33 million to the groups that organized and sustained them. How about the Southern Border Caravans? Soros-backed NGOs provided the lawyers, the maps, and the logistics. How about to fund the police and DAs in every major city? Soros money elected them. They're running the Color Revolution playbook on us now. Only this time, the target isn't Belgrade or Damascus, it's you. And this is why JFK was right. After the Bay of Pigs betrayal, President Kennedy reportedly told aides he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. He never got the chance. 62 years later, we're living in the world the CIA built. One where a Hungarian-born billionaire who collapsed the Bank of England can pour unlimited dark money into American elections and street movements, and nobody in power dares touch him. Because he's not a liability, he's their most successful off-the-books contractor. The only question left, if Hungary, a country of 9 million people, can pass Stop Soros laws and kick his operations out, why can't we? Maybe it's time we finish what JFK started.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Yep.
yeah, so, what do I think? What do you guys think? I think that's, if I follow General Flynn, so General Flynn on True Social is True Gen Flynn. And he says that he keeps calling out, I don't know why, but Ratcliffe, who's the CIA leader. So I think he just wants to abolish all of the CIA because it's been so evil for so many years. And so
CIA must be the deep state.
Yeah.
Or
And
part of it.
So I know I've seen videos at Mar-a-Lago where Trump, General Flynn was always there during my Moms for America stuff with General Flynn and Sebastian Gorka. Well, Sebastian has a role, Cash has a role, all those guys have a role, but General Flynn. And I saw one time, President Trump say, I offered you positions, but you just haven't decided to come yet, right? And now he has moved to D.C. in an office with Tim Ballard. That's
General Flynn has?
Yeah. So he's got an office in D.C. with Tim Ballard. So I'm like, I wonder what that means. But just yesterday, he posted, I thought this was interesting.
What was that on that girl? Where was that at?
Defender, this one.
Defender of the Republic.
22. You'll find her. So she's
And is this on
True Social.
Truth Social?
She's a former military leader. Yeah. And then, so if I'm gonna do my general fund. So if I go True Gen Flynn up here. True Gen Flynn. There he goes, Michael T. Flynn, but it's True Gen Flynn is how you find him. So he talks about, his pinned truth is about, face the facts, America. We're in the midst of a very serious and dangerous color revolution. Wherever you hear anyone say, we must save our democracy, we know what that means.
Yeah.
That is their signal to others that they want to destroy our republic, and trust that they are intent on doing so. Along with destroying our republic is the removal of those mainstay American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of economic prosperity, along with the sanctity of human happiness. These type revolutionary statements, such as he's dangerous to democracy, are the catcalls to the Marxist left to move faster toward achieving their goals of undermining our republic to eventually overthrow the government. Most cannot wrap their minds around this game, which is not a game at all. What is a color revolution? It is very sneaky, insidious overthrow of an elected government by clandestine parties. Under Barack Obama, with the support of the socialist left and right, warmongers, in places like state, the intel community, and the defense, now War Department, there are many inside our government I have been warning about quietly initially, and now very publicly, that want to see the American way of life completely change. How? 1. Seize power through rigged elections. 2. Add layers of bureaucracy along with layers of non-governmental organizations, those darn NGOs. 3. Start or extend wars and conflicts around the world. 4. Rob the coffers of the U.S. Treasury to the tune of trillions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. 5. Wash or launder that money through foreign nations and participating financial institutions and select individual foundations. 6. Rinse and repeat. Of course, there are many other details, but you get my point. This is the reality America faces, and if Mr. President, real Donald Trump, doesn't get it and start ripping apart the key functions of the deep state, I'm afraid we will move rapidly through complacency to apathy and then obedience, which is slavery. So that's that cycle that happens at the end of a nation before they fall. That's what the radical leaders on the left want. Their application of useful idiots inside government and on the streets of America are very well thought out. It's part of a larger strategy. Wake up, America. So that's his pinned one, but okay, I haven't seen this one yet. Stone Cold Truth, the case of pardoning former President Honduras. I haven't seen this one yet. Good message. Comfort is fleeting. He'll post a long time, because I saw everything last night. Hard times always return, and when they do, what kind of man will you be? So you have to learn. Be like our founders. Instead of saying this is hard and complain, say what can I learn from this that can, strengthen us? What can we learn from this? I've not seen that one either. So let me find the one that I thought I saw. This must be a kinder, gentler world. A former CIA director and POTUS talked about coming to a theater near us. Oh, crazy. Okay. Where was the one? He says for this. Okay. Please ask John Ratcliffe, he's calling out John Ratcliffe, and Senator John Johnson if these comments are true. For the sake of the future of America, do not let this historic moment pass by without asking the simple questions demanding the truth. And they're talking about voting and that, and then, okay, where's the one? I prefer Constitution. Okay. Trump, time is rapidly running out to drain the swamp. Real reforms take time, got it, but so does preserving our constitutional republic. I prefer the Constitution over corrupt government commissions, agencies, activities, and departments. Let us know how we can help. That's what I wanted to do. He finally is now saying, let us know how we can help, because I have heard Trump ask him many times. And then now he's like, moved his office there, and he's 33 years in the military in informational warfare, written books about 5G warfare, informational warfare, and the encroachments within the churches as well being taken over. So I think it's all interesting, you guys.
So Trump has been trying to get him to come on board, and he wouldn't.
And he would say, he's just like, he's in retirement. But then part of me thinks maybe they're still running something that happened when he was Trump 45, because he's informational warfare, But we don't know. But he's actually said, that was the thing that caught me. Let us know how we can help. So now he's like, okay, I'm in. You're not moving fast enough. you don't understand because he's a businessman. He doesn't understand how far down we are in this color revolution.
So it's True Jen, G-E-N,
Yeah.
Flynn, F-L?
Yep.
Okay.
TrueGenFlynn. He's on X if
Say
you're
it
on
again
X
to
too.
slower.
So TrueGenFlynn.
Okay.
And Donald Trump on Truth is always real Donald Trump.
Well, somebody hacked his thing yesterday.
On Truth?
Yeah, you posted it. Maduro did not.
That's Trump still has it on there. It's not hacked. That is not hacked. I'll show you.
So it must, why is he posting that and nothing is being said anywhere?
Well, he posted it twice. So
Our
go
media
to
is not pro-Trump.
Truth.
Fox isn't against him.
No, but he's posted it twice.
But I mean, he had a 2.5 hour cabinet, plus he spoke
he's
again and didn't say a word
because
about
it's
Maduro.
his call, and they don't. The media doesn't want to. It's his call with him, so he posted it twice. I'll show you. This is Trump's.
Well, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah,
Posted what?
I'll show you.
He's saying that Maduro is said, "I give up," and
But there
Right
were
there.
conditions.
There it is, right here. So
Maduro said he would give up, but he wanted to maintain control.
no, this is different.
Utilizar la campaña.
Oh. Okay, you have
yeah,
to
we
read
don't
it.
need. Yeah,
We have
just
to read that one. Sorry, let's try.
you
it.
can just.
So if you read it, go.
It says breaking Venezuela president just
Okay.
publicly surrendered.
So he turned in state evidence against the Biden administration and is releasing proof that Biden asked the Venezuelan government to ship Tren de Agua drug gangs to the U.S. So
Oh my gosh.
he posted this twice. So I don't think
He posted it on
hacked.
an X and he posted it on Truth Social.
Twice. on
But
True
nothing
Social.
was. But he had that huge cabinet meeting and didn't say anything. And I kept thinking, if that's true, why didn't he say that?
Here's all the financial stuff
He
he put on
posted it
there.
on social
You
media,
guys
so
like
there's probably
stats.
some back channel conversations going on before he's gonna go out. and
Because
say much
if
more
you saw
about it.
Marilyn Light and someone else on,
Well, that was different.
they said, we tried to open that up and couldn't find it. And they
No,
looked-
that was on the other one. That was with the Salt Lake mayor.
Okay.
That one was a hoax. But this one Trump did twice. So he did it there and he did it again. See, 2 times he put it on. Or he would have went through and cleaned it up. So I think the news is not talking about it, and I think they'll see this.
Yeah,
when
but
it
he
comes
didn't
out.
talk about it. That's the thing that stumped me is
Yeah.
why didn't he say anything in that cabinet
Well, they're
meeting?
gonna take Biden down. They're taking all of them down. They're gonna have
I
starting in
hope
January
so.
are all the court cases,
I
including
hope
Charlie
so.
Kirk's court case starts like January 13th, I think, for Charlie's death. So everything is January is gonna be like, and then in Utah we start our legislation like at the end of January, right?
Middle.
Middle.
It always starts in the middle.
Yeah.
It's 3 months
So-
from January to March, the middle of March.
Anyway, so that's
Well,
our
thank you.
presentation.